Great. Welcome, data enthusiasts. Today, we're going to be talking about information management planning. In every emergency around the world, you have to do an operation management. Operation management starts with an assessment of people's needs. Once you set up the assessment and you find out the priorities, what people's priorities, what the priority of interventions you should help people with. Then you have to put a logo frame. A logo frame that will set your goal, that will set your outcomes and outputs, and what activities you should implement. Eventually, you should come up with a plan of action, a detailed plan of when you should do your activities and what are the milestones. This methodology is called project management, and it's quite common. And it is also should be used in the support departments, such as logistics, such as procurement, and most importantly, IM. IM in emergencies is quite small, but when it comes to complex emergencies or even sustainable organizations, IM should do project management. That's why today we're going to be talking about information management planning. As you can see in the slides. Today's presentation is going to include slides and lots of supporting documents for you to use later. First, I want to introduce myself. I am Fadi Ibrahim, the manager of IMU, Information Management Unit in SARC. Today, I also want to thank everyone that helped me through the 7 years of experience to deliver this methodology, to be able to implement it in different scenarios. Some of them are former managers like Sam Saeed, Rami, and different other people that supported external partners such as Luke, Guido, and people from the IFRC, and also my team here in HQ and in the branches and sub-branches. It's very important that now Wafa is going to help us. Wafa, my colleague now, she's going to help us and share a link. This link is for a OneDrive folder that contains all the support documents that you need. And I'm going to elaborate about this document later. Your one role in this session is to share this document with as much people as you can. And two, share it with the people that can improve this document. This is an opportunity for you and for us to have a board experience coming all together in one folder. All you have to do is create a new folder inside the shared folder, name it with your national society or organization, your name, and then inside the folder add your tools for project management. Now we're going to go through the presentation. There are 4 stages of planning as we experience in IM. The 4 steps are 1, environment, organization, and methodology. It's very important to understand the organization strategy and what is your methodology. 2, assessment. There's different tools of assessment, different methodologies of assessment. There's stakeholders, there's production, there's SWOT, and there's teams assessment. All these assessments are assessing the factors of IM. Logo frame. It's very important after you assess and find your gaps, what you should do to solve these gaps. You have to put them in a logo frame, something more understood for all your organization and your stakeholders. What's your goal, what your outcomes, outputs, and what the activities you're going to implement. Eventually, when you come with the activities, you have to put them in a timeline to figure out your milestones. Let's go one by one and see what tools do we have and what is the broad definition of each phase. 1, environment and methodology. Organization strategy and methodology. 1, organization strategy. It's very important to understand what's your organization strategy. Are you working in emergencies? Are you working on resilience? Are you working on development programs? What are you trying to in your organization. The organization usually publishes your organization strategy for 2 years till 5 years. In SARC management with the organization development team have published their strategy. It really consists of 5 main factors. It is integrated response, early recovery, resilience, protection, and strengthening fundamentals. So in this huge broad, we should identify IAM role. As you can see in the pyramid on the right, there is in the mid right, there's information management. Information management is in line with communication and media. They are able to communicate with the partners, communicate everyone together. So that's the IAM role in the strategy. You have to keep it in mind. 2, you have to set up your methodology. There's different methodologies of IAM that depends on your organization strategy and your context. Let's have some. 1, the IAM process. We all are familiar with the IAM process. The IAM process starts with defining the question that you want to answer, collect data, data management, data analysis, visualization, reporting, and finally share your outcomes. This methodology is most common in emergencies. An emergency where you don't have a broad vision and you have a short-term emergency, use this methodology. But what if it's more complex? What if it is more sustainable? What if your organization trying to move from a phase to another? There's different methodologies like information management system or integrated information management system. One of the methodologies SARC is using because of the complex context, because of the broad organization vision, and also because we are transforming from a phase to another, is digital transformation, especially maturity model. As you can see in the chart, there are 5 steps. 5 critical steps to understand what is your level in the digital transformation. How can you move from paper to an integrated system? The first step is basic. You have laptop, you have Office 360, and you can collect some data. Phase 2, you can collect the data using different tools. You can analyze it and produce reports. Step number 3, you have an ERP system. You have different systems like health system, HR system, volunteers management system, logistics, and different other systems. They are either web developed or computer software. Number 4, you have to connect these systems together. Once you connect them, you have integration. Then you can produce dashboard that will deliver impact. Number 5, which is quite high, in which you can start implement artificial intelligence, and you start thinking about business intelligence and different other outputs. For SARC, we are in the phase 2 and 3. We can produce reports, we can collect data from the field. We have different systems, but we are willing to develop more systems. For now, dears, we just talked about the environment and methodology. It's very important. You first start with it. Don't start with assessment. Start with your organization's approach. That's a lesson learned from Mr. Hussam. Now, after you understand the organization, you have to start with assessment. You have to assess different factors. The assessment includes 4 assessments. They are very important. There's different other types of assessment. You can use them. From our experience, we use these 4. They're quite enough. They give you a broad vision to understand all the factors. 1, stakeholders. You have to understand who are your stakeholders. If you're producing a report for emergency, that means DM and different other programs are your stakeholders. Internationally, maybe the IFRC and the partners are your stakeholders. You have to understand how much they are influenced and how much they need. 2, production. What can you produce? First, you understand what they need. And now you should know what you can produce. It's very important to put a list of all production you can produce. You can produce a report, you can produce a surveys on ODK, you can produce a system, web application, you can produce a visualization, a dashboard, or different other production you can produce. You have to list them and understand what skills they require, what tools or software applications they require, and what is the importance of each product. 3, it is the team. You can't do nothing without a team, but you have to understand that your team are covering the profiles that you need to produce and to match the organization strategy. You need to understand skills, different types, they're external, internal. You have to understand your organization gram of the team, and you have to understand their availability. Number 4, it is the SWOT analysis. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now you can define what opportunities to empower your weak points. Use the strength that you have to manage the risk you are facing. And the stakeholder analysis, there's more methodology that's used. You can see there are 2 factors, influence and interest. The more people are interested and more influence, they are high priority. If the IM is working in emergencies, the DM is a high priority. The DM is managing the operation. They have high influence on all the other programs. Also, they are very interested in IM to understand more about the situation of their context and to deliver better reports. At the same time, some stakeholders, they don't have much influence and they don't have much interest. That doesn't mean that we neglect them. That means we have to monitor them. In order to do this chart, there is a file. It's called stakeholder analysis. It is within the share folder. You can find an Excel with a simple table that you can list in each record one of your stakeholders. Write their needs, how much their influence, and how much they're interested in IM. Once you do this, you understand your priority stakeholders, your mid stakeholders, and your low stakeholders. Now we move to production. What do we put in production? Well, production is quite easy. There's the Boston matrix. The Boston matrix states that there are 4 types of products, depending on 2 factors. One, it is market share, how much your product is taken from the share of the market. Like if we say a COVID report, it's very critical now. If your COVID report is great, it's taking a big share of the market, of people interested. 2, how much the market is growing. Is this product is going to be a very important product next year or not? Should we move it to another product or not? That puts us in 4 categories. If your product is not important and it's costing you lots of time, it's a dog. It's not good. You have to change it. If your product is easy to implement and there's lots of stakeholders that are interested in, that means it's a cow. You just do a basic work, but you have lots of impact. At the same time, there's some new ideas. What about the new ideas? They are all questions. You understand that in the future they are very important, like data science, data warehousing, artificial intelligence, and business intelligence. They are very critical for the next steps, if you remember from the maturity model. But they are still questions. We should not implement them right now, we should start planning for them. But if the time comes and your question is now to implement, it becomes a star. It's very important for everyone. It's like dashboards. Dashboards are important for everyone and has big market share. Everyone is interested in dashboards. It's a very good tool. In order to do this chart, you can use the Excel provided. It's the production analysis. You can list inside the Excel all your products that you produce, or products that you're planning to produce. All the products that are low quality and you don't want to produce that anymore. Labelize each product with these 4 categories and then we can jump to the next step. 4, team. Now we have to identify our team. What are their skills? What is their role? What's the availability? In which type they are. As you can see in the chart, a small example. The same example you can use inside the Excel also provided, which is the team analysis. First, you list the name of the team member, then the role. Let's take it right now. Then the skills and the profiles they can implement. If we see in the table, there is Noor. He's an IM generalist. He's good with data analysis. He's good with data collection. He's always available, and he's part of the IM team. You can see Wasim. He's a developer. He's good with database and web development. He's not available when there's exams, but he's a specialist network. He's not in the IM team. There's Mai. She's from the region. She's good with dashboards and coordination. We don't know when she's available. We can ask her later, but she's an external. These 3 types of people and different profiles are very important to cover and to understand this strength and to understand where there's gaps. If the skills and profile you don't find much about artificial intelligence, that means if you want to produce artificial intelligence product, that means you have a gap. You have to start to fill this gap. Eventually, we go to the SWOT analysis. 4 categories. Label all your information into 4 categories. What are the strengths? We do have a good IM team with different profiles. Weaknesses. We don't have much sharing with other national societies. Opportunities. We're connected to the themes and international IM search. But at the same time, we are not, the organization is not well known of the IM role. What should we do? If you have the strengths of all profile, that means we can do a production list. If we are weak in the areas, if we have opportunities with international communities, we can grasp some information from them, but we have to solve the threat in which is more data literacy and more awareness about the IM. These are the 4 types of assessment we provide. The Excels are provided, and this is a small explanation about each assessment. Just a second. So, guys, till now we understand the organization strategy. We understand what type of assessment we should use. Now, it's time to analyze a little bit more, to see what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, to start finding ways to solve these things. In order to solve them, to have to set up the big gap, the small gap, and a little bit more about the activities you want to implement. This methodology is called the logo frame. Logo frame is 4 key things. If you want to know more about the logo frame, I recommend the IFRC M&E guideline. It's very important you have a full session about logo frames. You can understand more about logo frames. Logo frames are commonly used in the programs and emergencies and different other projects. It's rather not commonly used in the support departments. First thing about logo frame is the goal. What is the gap that your organization is trying to fill? Your organization needs the IM to be a critical part in communication. That means we should deliver better information. Outcomes. You have to divide these big gaps into factors. Once you divide them into factors, you can really understand which factor you should focus on. Outputs. They are the solution that you provide for the different factors, divided gaps. Activities. They are the parts of the solution. Let's see now, how can we come from an analysis and from assessment analysis into a goal and an outcome? As you can see in the chart, There's a problem with the production and the reports. The reports are late and they're not efficient. It's a dog. The stakeholders all are saying that it's not good report. It's always slow and it is not that efficient. They can't take decision based on this report. But the stakeholders really need this report. From the team analysis, you can find that reporters on the field, they have gap in their profile. And the threats, you can find that these slow reports may cause a problem in decision making, in resource mobilization or different other decision making. What is the solution? We have to check our strengths. The IM have a good capacity in training and they have good profiles at the HQ. They can deliver trainings. Now, how can we translate these assessment and analysis into goal, output, outcomes, and outputs? This is a small chart that's saying improve information quality inside. Our role is communication and connecting and coordination. So IM's most important role is to improve its quality of information, to help with the coordination and communication. In order to do so, and with the context that we have, that people are not good and they don't have good profile for reports, that means they need more data literacy. What is data literacy? Well, in order to understand more data literacy, we have to divide it into solutions and more activities. First, qualified trainings. 2, conduct data literacy training in the HQ and conduct more data literacy with developing a content. This is how we can transfer these assessments into a logo frame. Sorry, some technical issues. We can solve them in a second. Take a break, try to capture what we said. If you have a question, please write it in the chat. So Wafa would help us into capturing all of these questions. اشتغلت الساعة. Would you excuse us for a second? Okay, guys, let's continue. So this is a broad vision of the IAM logo frame. This is rather not the template that we use usually, but it's quite easy to understand. Improve information quality inside. The 4 factors of the gap that we have, it is the people are not good with data. We need better systems to share the data. We need to produce different products and eventually we need to share this information. Our outputs and activities in the field of data literacy, we need to do more data literacy. In the information system, we need to enhance the information system that we have. And eventually, with the production, we need to reflect more analysis and dashboards and reports and better visualization with map production. Finally, information sharing is very critical. That's why our activity, our output is to deliver an information management platform. Our activities start with developing the system and eventually sharing with the stakeholders. I guess okay, great, guys. Okay, guys. Now we just talked about 3 areas of the 4 areas of the 4 steps. The first step was understanding the organization strategy, find your role. Second, assessing the stakeholders, production, and different other aspects. The first step is to put a logo frame and to be able to take in outcomes and conclusions from the analysis and put them in a way that they are define your goals, outcomes, outputs, and activities. In order to do a log frame, there's an Excel sheet also in the shared folder that contains 2020 IM log frame. It's very detailed. You can use it or you can delete and use it different ways. Now let's jump to the next step. Once we have a log frame, we have to start putting these activities in a timeline so we understand if we can achieve it or not. What the challenge we may face. What are the milestones that are very critical? If we achieve them, that we are on the safe side. If we don't achieve them, we are in critical condition. Let's see now how to do planning and timeline. Planning and timeline, there's first area of focus, activities and timeline. Areas of focus are pretty much easy. They are the same as the outputs. We don't put the outcomes. The outcomes are basically at much higher level. Outputs are the solutions that you want to deliver. Activities, connect each activity that you're trying to implement with a stakeholder, product, team member, and deadline. Here you have to understand it's very critical to be detailed. Inside your output of data literacy, what are the activities? One, it's very important to do content. That means the content should be delivered at February, let's say. So we can at March start with the TOT training. Once we do the TOT training, now we gotta go with the pilots. After we do a couple of pilots, now we can go with different trainings. Last year, as an example, by the beginning of the year, we had a plan. It says that in the output, the solution of data literacy for data users is very important to start with developing a content. But we can develop a content before the assessment. That means we have to put the content aside and start with the assessment first. Assessment should be acquired between March and April. Once it's done, we start with the guideline. Once the guideline is done in May, we start with 4 pilots in 2 months in July and August. There was a problem with the corona, so we have to shift. We continued the rest of the trainings. There are 10 trainings in the other governorates between September to December. We had a detailed plan. We understood that we can achieve only 11 trainings out of 20 that they were planned. It's very important to put a plan so we can understand. Our milestones are the TOT, the guideline, and the first pilot. These are the milestones. We have to achieve them. They're very critical. Once these are achieved, we understood the other threats we're facing. The other threats, they're saying that we don't have much time for 20 training, and the people are still not used to the data literacy. That means we need to decrease the number of trainings. That's why we adapt. It's very important to put a timeline so we can adapt. For now, dear participants, we talked about all the steps. You can see for the last step, there's also a document. It's called timeline and work plan. This work plan is for the IM. It's a draft. It is not the right one. You can use it. It has different columns and has different months also to apply. In each output, you list your activities and list when you want to do them, and who is the responsible to implement the activity, and who are the stakeholders. By this, dear participants, let's have a quick grasp about everything we talked today. And we try to go back. Okay, so now we go back with a full plan. It's very important to understand these steps. These steps are not very critical. These steps are not as academic as you wish, but these are a good experience from different positions I've filled, from different colleagues I've worked with. First, environment and methodology with organization. 2, assessment, local frame, and eventually do a plan. We don't use this much planning in the IM, but it's very important that you use it in the IM. By the end, I want to thank you all for participating. It was a very pleasure to do this session with you guys. Now, if you have any more questions, please write them in the chat box so I can answer these questions. It is also very important that I will say one more time, share and add your experience to the folder. If you did the planning before, if you use different tools, if you have a training content in mind, please share it in the folder so everyone in this group can gain more experience and more knowledge, and try to share it with other people. Thank you very much. I'm Fad Ibrahim from IM SARC. Thank you very much. If you have now any questions, please raise your hand and ask. If you don't, you can ask them in the chat and I will answer.